distributing our, okay. So we're in the process of finalizing the members of our team. And so we will be providing our teams to all of you within the next week or so. But essentially, like I said, we're here to answer any questions in the process. We will be going through Scholastica alongside our associate editors. And essentially, we're looking for a variety of things. So are there manuscripts that have not been assigned to editors? If, of course, we'll let them sit for a few days, but if they're sitting for more than a few days, then we would like to assign them to one of you. We will also look to see if a associate editor has assigned themselves to a manuscript, but has not yet invited reviewers. We'll send a gentle reminder through a discussion thread, asking or reminding you to please invite reviewers. We'll also just notice if reviewers are maybe late, suggest perhaps inviting new or different reviewers. And then importantly, as you're going through the revise and resubmit process, we're here for any questions that you may have. I would say one of the most important is when you decide to accept a manuscript, to reach out to your managing editor and let us know, because that's when we will take that manuscript and move it to the dashboard to be laid out and prepared for publishing. So the idea really is, instead of all the associate editors working just alone with manuscripts, that we're more of a team that works collaboratively through the whole manuscript process. Any questions before I go on? Okay. So when should you, oh, we're getting a big storm, so I hope I don't disappear, but you will probably hear some thunder. So when should you reach out to your managing editor? So I would say anytime you have a question in the process. For example, you may have a question whether or not a manuscript should just be rejected before even being sent out for review. So if you're the first reviewer and you do not think this is an article that we would ultimately publish, you may want to what's called desk reject it. If you're not sure, you can certainly reach out to Candace and Cersei, who monitor each and every manuscript, but you're also welcome to reach out to one of us as well. And I would say if you are going to be away, if you're sick, if there is a serious event that's come up in your life and you need to step away from Scholastica for a few days or for a week or so, we are your resource, and we can be there to make sure that we're monitoring your manuscripts and any information coming in from your authors, etc., while you need to step away. Okay. Any questions on the managing editor role? So then why don't we move on to the updated author guidelines, which, am I showing those, Cersei, or are you? I can share my screen.
I can share. Hold on, let me open it up.
Okay. So we came together as a group and we worked on some updated author guidelines so that there would be more standardization in some of the submissions. So one of the things, when you do assign yourself to a manuscript, we ask that you open it, and even if you're not going to be a reviewer, that you check and make sure that the manuscript meets the author guidelines. So for example, does it have a cover letter? Does it meet the word count? And are the references formatted in the APA format? If an article is just slightly over word count, or if the references are mostly properly formatted, we would encourage you then to go ahead, review, and send out for review. But if the word count greatly exceeds the word count limit, if the references are not properly formatted, or there's no cover letter, it's not clear why they've submitted this article, and is it for a special volume or just a general submission, We encourage you to reach out to the author, to reject the manuscript so that we don't get confused and have too many manuscripts in the queue, and invite the author to please follow the author guidelines and then to resubmit their manuscript. Any questions on that? So why don't we go through some of these updated author guidelines? And again, please jump in if there's any questions. So there's a variety of article types, and this is all going to be available on the website, or may now be available on the website.
It is, yeah. If you go to the website and you go to submissions, in the drop down, there is a page called How to Submit to the Harvard Public Health Review, and it walks an author through all of this information here. It also shows screenshots of the Scholastica platform and walks them through the submission process.
And so I guess one question that I did not clarify is when they write their cover letter, they should say what article type. Since they can't select an article type in Scholastica, they'll include that in the cover letter. And then based on what they include in the cover letter.
No, and it'll be indicated because they'll select the template they want to use.
Yes.
I didn't mean to interrupt you or like
no,
negate what you
you.
said. Yeah, that's how we'll get around that. So there is some limitations with Scholastica in terms of customization, and the way around that is to have each author be required when they submit their article to use a specific template for it so that we know what type of piece it's meant to be. And also, just really quickly, they'll also indicate which of the upcoming editions, if any, they want it to be a part of. So that'll help with the review process as well. And they have the option of selecting other. So please, I'm sorry to interrupt. You're doing so great, Mary Ellen. I didn't mean to interrupt. What's yours?
No, please, anyone jump in with questions or any tweaks at all with the information. So when you are assigning yourself a manuscript, we do ask, please take some time and make sure that they're following these guidelines. And like I said, if the guidelines are not followed, reject the article, write back to the author, explain why the article has been rejected, and invite them to please follow the guidelines and then to resubmit again. Can you scroll down a little bit?
So these are the article types, and it includes the new types of stuff that we're getting in, which is podcasts and videos and other materials.
Yes. And then we include the citation style. We also encourage our authors to use free reference managers. Yes, like Zotero or Mendeley. So for example, if you're rejecting an article because references are not properly cited, in your note, you may want to remind them that there are free reference managers available that we would encourage them to use. You'll review the cover letter where they are supposed to include the submission type. We do ask them to include the word count. Part of that is so that they themselves are monitoring the word count, and whether or not they want that submission as a general submission or whether or not it should be considered for a special featured volume. They should include all the authors who have contributed to the submission, and they should disclose any financial disclosures or any other, personal conflicts of interest, commercial conflicts of interest, etc. Before the review process. That's critical that disclosure statement is there. And then they also need to attest that the manuscript is not under consideration at another journal and that it has not been published elsewhere. We do ask them to include just a brief note, a little bit of context around the article. For example, the background, why the article is relevant, why it's important, what contribution will it make to public health, and then to indicate their name, address, and email of the corresponding author. Okay. We then provide a variety of templates, which we'll show you in just a moment. Like Cersei alluded to, there's a template for each article submission type that we will ask them to use that will provide more of a standardization for how we review the articles. Then there's instructions around tables and figures that just have to do with formatting, the placement in the manuscript, and font type, etc.
And then these are the
This is
templates.
great. Yeah, this is great for the additions that they can choose from. And then these are all of the templates, and we can go through one of them. So this template, this one is for an original article, maybe? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so just to walk through one template, they're all very similar. What would we like the manuscript to look like when it's submitted to us? We would like them to indicate what type of article it is, to list their title, their authors, all of their institutional affiliations, and then keywords. We ask them to submit an abstract if it's an original article. That should be limited to 300 words. And then pretty standard article components, their introduction, their methods, results, discussion, conclusion, followed by figures and tables, then references, acknowledgements, a disclosure statement, which they should have also included in the cover letter, but also needs to be part of the manuscript. And then we are encouraging them to write a third person few sentence about the author. For those of you who have read a variety of articles on the website, there's something very engaging, I think, and endearing when they write about themselves and how they're connected to the work. So, and then we can maybe scroll down a little more just to show you. So this is the template for a review article, very similar, and so on and so forth. So each article type now has its own template. And I'm just thinking out loud here whether or not we might want to put those word counts on each template or not. I know that's something we had not done, but I'm wondering if that might be helpful.
It's very easy to update, and you know, I put all of this on the website, but I'm probably going to go in and update it because that's just the way website development goes. You develop something and then develop it again, so we can easily just add the word counts to all of these. Just I'm sorry, Mary Ellen, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was just wondering if anyone has any questions about the templates, about the process.
Yes, thank you very much for your awesome submission. Please, I wanted to ask for the abstract submission part. I've still not been quite clear with that. Is it just abstract, like abstract 300 words abstract, and that's all for the submission? Or we still require a full paper?
The abstract just is like a little snapshot of what's in the paper. It's not like an abstract submission for a conference or anything. So,
I guess
yeah,
so.
if someone just submitted
paper,
an abstract, it'd be we wouldn't be able to review it or anything. We would just have to do a desk reject.
I understand. So does a person have to attach the whole paper to it, or just the abstract?
No, the whole paper.
Otherwise,
we won't be able to review. Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Should we go back up to that original article template, maybe?
Yes,
we can all look at it.
So
just to repeat the question, so Andy's asking, can they just submit an abstract and kind of let us take the temperature on a paper before they submit the paper? And the answer is no, that would be a desk reject. So like any other original article that you all have read, what we're asking for is that this format be followed from the title to the author list to the keywords, then the abstract, which is that snapshot, followed by the full original article and all the other pieces of that template.
Fantastic.
And just to tag on there, Mary Ellen, the reason why we're using this template is it follows very much what, the layout and design of the articles on the website. This is the format that we've been using. And in the past, we've been collecting author bios and everything separately. And that creates like a situation where someone's doing layout and design, where they have multiple places that they have to go to get all the information to do a layout and design of an article. Here, this is set up exactly for publication. So really, we're trying to recreate the editing process so that it's not just something in and of itself, but with a face toward or a link directly into the publication process, so that we can do this as quickly as possible for ourselves and for our authors.
All right.
Yeah, and just to speak to each article type, so obviously the original articles are original research. We then have review articles, which is perhaps an author or authors come together and they'd like to try to make sense of some conflicting information that's out there, or synthesize a large volume of information that they think would be very helpful to people in a certain field. So that's going to be that review article. A research letter, if you go down to the next page. Research letters, you don't see a lot of these, but research letters are more shorter. Often they're innovations. So they don't have enough data to have a full original article, but they have enough data to contribute something that's original. And so that's usually submitted as a research letter. They're usually much shorter. I'm forgetting what our word count is, but often they're about 700 words or so. And the reason I'm going through this is occasionally you may find that an article gets submitted under the wrong article type. So just to be aware of what all the different article types are. And then Cersei, if you go down, the next is commentaries, I believe. Yes, and opinions, editorials. So this would be kind of stepping back and giving a broad overview of your opinion, of the author's opinion on certain topics that are.
I must
often
say that most of the, if you go through the older editions of the Harvard Public Health Review, probably 80% of what we published initially were evidence-based editorials, such as these.
And then I think that's our last, is that our last template, I believe?
Yes, and then just examples of APA style.
Yes.
Can I
Okay.
a number of purposely annoying questions, but just to get people thinking, because I can imagine these scenarios potentially happening. Can you scroll up a little bit, Cersei? Keep going. Yeah. Oh, go down. Go down. Yeah, perfect. So imagine, you're the editor and you get an op-ed. So the question is actually to Mary Ellen. I'm the editor and the keywords are missing, but everything else is there. Should I reject the manuscript?
So I would say I would not reject the manuscript. I would send it out for review. And if we were accepting it, I would ask them to add them in.
Okay.
But that's open for discussion because it's not following all of the guidelines, but that seems like a small omission.
Mm-hmm. So scroll down just a little bit, Cersei. Okay, stop there. So say, for instance, disclosure statement or acknowledgements, it's in the cover letter, but it's missing in the actual document. Should I reject it?
So that's where I think before it's formally accepted, they have to include the disclosure. Well, so if it's in the cover letter, oh,
If it's in the cover letter, I would say it was fine.
So I think because of these things, like many of us in, in the audience now, I think we may very much differ. And I think that might end up being a problem because you may send different messages to different authors,
right.
So for me, I was actually going to take the very black and white view where, like, if there was not every single component was included, I was going to straight reject it and be like, resubmit this with XYZ. Even if it's something as simple as keywords, just to keep things straight. And I wasn't going to try and like, well, this is okay, that's okay, well, it's in the cover letter, because the point is that, like, people follow the rules strictly and we're not hunting for anything. But that's my opinion, and wanted to ask those annoying questions.
Yeah, no, and they're not annoying at all. I tend to be a strict rule follower, so I think we need as a group to make a decision, especially disclosure statements, very important. We certainly don't want to circulate anything if there's any potential conflicts of interest. And then find out after the reviewers have reviewed it.
I would say, based on that conversation just now, that we just be sticklers and expect authors to follow these guidelines to the T. And if they don't, that we just say, look, it's no offense. This is a no offense reject, but you need to resubmit because we can't review things that don't follow the guidelines. I think that's going to make things a lot easier for us. And I think also authors will be, they'll get used to it.
Yeah,
I think that makes a lot of sense. And it's less following up on things, reminding, etc.
Yeah, I think it makes, as the editor, like, super simple, because the author should, for instance, like, I submit my own manuscripts to HPHR. What I'm going to do is I'm going to download this, I'm going to plug things in, and I'm going to make sure it's perfect before I submit it. And I think people should do that, not like be like, oh, this kind of fits, and then send it in, and then the onus is on us to kind of decipher and be like, I mean, I would even say, as much of, well, maybe not like order, maybe if things are slightly out of order, like if acknowledgement comes under disclosure, maybe I wouldn't be a stickler about that.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I just think that other mainstream journals, have these sorts of rules, and we're getting larger and we're getting more submissions. We don't even have any calls out right now, but I've noticed that we've started to tick back up with submissions. So I think Joanna had a question.
Oh, Joanna.
Hi. Yeah, I had a question about research ethics board approval.
Do we not have that on the template for the original research? Thank you. That's a great question.
Yeah, I didn't see it there.
Okay. Thank you for catching that. So that's something that we forgot to put in. So that should be in research letters and the original articles.
Thank you.
Making a note. So what Joanna is asking is if you're doing original research, whether or not you were approved by your institutional review board or not, or exempt.
Yeah.
And there needs to be a statement, and then often they'll ask for the protocol number. So we'll add that in. Thank you.
So my other question was on that note. If there was a statement that they had approval, but they didn't give any proof or a number, what would we do about that? Would that be a case where we reject it right back?
We would have to reject them right back.
Yeah.
I will say that there are some, depending on where the paper is from, some countries do not require researchers to engage in the same IRB overview, or that it's in a slightly newer stage. So we would, but we have to
we have to make sure that folks have IRB approval or some sort of institutional approval or equivalent before publishing the piece. The other thing that is aligned with that and we need to put in here is use of images of patients or other people. They need to provide evidence of, model disclosure permissions to use their images. There's actually a blog that we published and it was quite delayed in publication. I just put it up a few days ago. We had to get the person who created it to send us all of the permissions and disclosure forms from each of the people who were photographed.
The other thing I realized that we forgot to add to this updated template is on the website, you talk about acceptable language. So that's something that we should add back to this template that we had forgotten to.
Well, it's not going to be in every single template.
Oh, no, but in terms of author guidelines, just the
yes,
general author guideline.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's on the website. It was part of
Yeah.
It was part of the website already, but we forgot to carry that.
Okay, I'll just add it to the document. Yeah.
Okay.
No worries.
Any other questions about these templates or the process?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
It's easy for editors. Is there a checklist that an editor can have beside them as they review a manuscript so they can just check off boxes to make the process easier? Does that exist?
So there isn't a checklist per se. If people were interested, we could do that. But if they have these templates by their side, you can almost use that as a checklist for each article type.
I think what I can do, Candace, is when I go through and I do and I update tonight, I can create that checklist. And when we send this finalized version out to everyone, we can include that checklist for everybody.
I wasn't trying to make extra work. I was just trying to.
No, not at all. I don't think it's extra work at all. I think that's I think it's a very easy thing to create, and it's will make things a lot easier and take away some of the work, hopefully, or facilitate it for everyone. Yeah, not at all. Awesome possum. I just have my cat picture on because my eyes, it's kind of dark where I'm sitting right now, and it looks like I'm haunting Zoom.
Any other questions on the updated author guidelines?
Yes,
And we all
please.
agree if a manuscript is submitted without a cover letter, it will be rejected as well. Well, here's a question. So these have not been posted, or they were just posted today. So there's maybe 10 articles sitting on Scholastica waiting to be picked up that didn't have the benefit of, obviously, of the updated guidelines. So are we going to allow those? Just kind of process them as we have with the others?
Are you talking about older submissions?
Yeah, so I looked on Scholastica quickly today. There's maybe 10 or 12 articles that are waiting to be assigned to editors.
Yeah, I would say I don't, depending on like the quality of them, I don't know if we want to retroactively make them follow all of this. From this point forward, yes, they'll have to follow the guidelines. So as of 7/7/2021, these are the guidelines you have to follow to submit articles, or they're not going to be considered.
I would advocate the opposite.
You really?
Yes, I would. I would say, like, so our editors know how to do this process, because that's exactly what we'll be doing, right? Is that somebody submitted something, it doesn't have our guidelines. And I think we should definitely apologize. I think with the particular.
Okay, if we're going to do it, we need, yes, thank you. We need to definitely say, I'm very sorry, but we have just implemented some new guidelines and we are asking all authors to abide by them. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Mary Ellen said, there's like 6 articles by the same author, but I think we could grandfather it in, but then you're just creating more work for ourselves. I mean, unless people want to argue against me, but I just say bend over backwards. So sorry, but this is a new process. This would really help us out. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but I think what's hard is if we, I have mixed feelings, but if we don't do that, then there's a number of articles that just won't be formatted, or when will they format it? In the R&R process or not at all?
Well, I would say that only those that are brand new and haven't started
Right?
that aren't in R&R, you know, all of the new ones. Because I know there's a number of ones that haven't been assigned yet. And all the ones that have just started on their journey, we can contact them.
So what should that process, so is there a team of people who want to do that?
I'll do it since I think I might be the less guilty feeling of the group here. So
I don't think that you're less guilty feeling. It's funny.
I think it can be done tastefully. So I agree with Darcy, like all of these that are empty, I'll take all of those and I'll send a very kind, gentle reject and let them know that we have new things. We would love them to resubmit. It's just very much important for us that these guidelines are followed for our whole processing team, et cetera, et cetera. And it's all the same author. So it literally is only going to impact him.
Yeah.
Everybody else picked up, like, yeah.
Oh, so a number of them must have been picked up, because when I looked a few hours ago, I thought there were maybe 12 articles or so unassigned.
It also depends on how you're looking at it, Marianne.
Yeah.
Right.
How you're filtering.
That was the front page. There's some on the second page as well. So yeah, it looks like there are, but yeah, I'll do it right now. I'll take all of them and then I will kindly reject.
Awesome. Thanks, Candace.
Because a reject now is happiness for everybody later.
A reject now is that's wonderful.
Any other questions on the updated author guidelines, or should we move on to the revise and resubmit?
Okay. I have no questions. I do have an appointment.
Do you need to go?
Yes, would someone be able to overtake? It looks like, well, Candace is sharing her screen.
Yeah, is it under me now currently?
Yeah, it looks like you're sharing. I see your screen. So, because I'm very liberal with the way I set up my Zoom, so anyone could share. I just need to make someone a.
So can you all see my screen? I'm pulling up the revise and resubmit. You all can see that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to make, Candace, do you mind if I make you the person, the host?
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave my computer on and open. I just need to go and take care of an appointment. My cat needs to meow. So, yes, but this will continue recording, and when the meeting is over, I'll download the recording and add it to YouTube for everyone. So,
That's great.
thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. So after you've assigned yourself as the editor, sent the manuscript out to 2 reviewers, gotten back your reviews, you will either be rejecting the article, or you will be asking for most likely a revise and resubmit. Highly unlikely that you'll just accept the article as it's been written without any updates at all or a response to comments. And so this is something that I believe will be going on within Scholastica for us to be providing to the authors, but it's a revise and resubmit author guideline template. And essentially you'll be sending them a note that they're invited to revise and resubmit. when they submit their revision, we're asking for a few things. One is, and I'm just going to scroll down, we would like them to use this author response template, and we'd like them to copy and paste all of the comments from each reviewer and then provide a point-by-point rebuttal to those reviewer comments. So we're sure that they've incorporated reviewer comments into their manuscripts. So you can see here, this is for reviewer number 1, and then they can just change it and include comments from reviewer number 2 with their responses. We're also asking them to include 2 copies of the updated manuscript. One will be a copy and track changes in Word, and then the other will be that same track changes, except all the track changes will have been accepted. So that's going to be their clean or unmarked up copy. Any questions on that?
Yes.
Well, oh, go ahead.
If an author happens to be unlucky and they had more than 2 reviewers, say an editor was super zealous and they have 4 different reviewers for the manuscript, do authors just have to do it for 2 reviewers or for all of them?
I would say for all of them.
Okay.
Do you not all agree? Otherwise, they can kind of pick and choose. But we're hoping that articles will just have 2 reviewers, maybe 3, but for the most part, 2.
Yeah. That we need to make sure that, because I know, Mary Ellen, you said that some editors are having 4 reviewers, but yeah, I think we should, at the beginning, at least just strive for 2, so that then it just doesn't become excessively burdensome for any given author, because they might have very 4 thorough reviewers, and that could cause them not to even want to publish with us.
So that's a great point, and I forgot to mention that. So I've noticed up to 4 reviewers were invited in the past. I believe only 1 reviewer completed the review. And so that's just something for us to be aware of is I think there's some stress involved in getting the reviewers to review and provide their comments, but we don't want to over ask reviewers. 1, they'll get tired of reviewing. And 2, once we have the 2 reviewers, my understanding is the other 2 remaining that might be in the middle of a very thorough review will get an email that the paper has now been accepted or rejected. And that, I think, will be very frustrating for the reviewers. So instead of casting out the net to many reviewers hoping someone says yes, doing it in a stepwise fashion is much more prudent. And then we'll add to this here that we will ask them to rename their document. So they'll rename their revised article to Final Track Changes with the title, and then Final Clean with the title. So that we're clear when they submit their track changes, you as the editor will go through it. You'll look at their point-by-point rebuttal. You'll make sure that they've made the suggested edits, or agree that perhaps maybe they had more information, they didn't need to make an update that a reviewer thought. And then we'll have 2 copies, but clearly named so that we know which copy to move over for production and publication. Does that make sense? And then I believe Cersei, I don't have the most updated, but I believe she's also showing a screenshot of where they should be uploading. It's upload another manuscript, and it goes into their specific, it gets tagged to their original article so that we don't accidentally send the revisions out for review, which I think may have happened in the past.
Yeah, so she's going to change this. So as we discussed, so authors, do you mind if I share my screen?
Oh, yeah.
So there's a little bit of a subtlety here. 1 second. So what we want to do is for any revisions that the author submits it on the manuscript page, and what they can do, you just go here and add another file. That way everything is going to be in one spot, as opposed to if they do it via discussion tab, then we have to hunt for it. So everything on manuscript detail page is as simple as add another file. And then everybody here who's the editor, you'll be able to see the original article, and then the one with track changes, and then the one with the clean version, and then also the rebuttal to all of the reviewer comments as well.
Any questions on that process? Okay, so you're right, actually. So in terms of the disclosure statement, so just to differentiate disclosure statements versus institutional review board approval. So I believe we have asked for all to include disclosure statements. That should be in the cover letter. I'm going to share my screen and just quickly pull up the new author guidelines to double check. Okay. Can you all see it says HPHR submission information?
I think you're on a different page. I
Yes.
see a Word doc.
Oh, let me stop sharing. Okay. I just have to stop sharing and share again. Okay, how about now? Can you see the
Yes.
HPHR submission information at the
Yes.
top? Yes, okay.
Mine is still saying HPHR managing editor team meeting with associate editors.
Oh, interesting.
So this might be a matter if you're sharing your desktop as opposed to a specific screen.
What does everyone else see? Well, you know what? How about this? I'll quickly scroll through so that I can address the question. So disclosure statement. Yes, we do. We have it on each template. So thank you, An. An was just saying that it was important for each submission should have disclosure statements. Yes, you are correct. But only the research submissions will have IRB statements or institutional review board ethical approval of the research statements. So we'll clarify that. Any other questions?
I have no question, but I have a suggestion for the example for the reference. I think in the reference we should put some sample for the book, print book or the online book or video podcast. I think that's really useful to authors to how to write the reference. Thank you.
Are you referring to the online free reference managers? Like Mendeley and Zotero? Yes, so we do recommend that in the author guidelines, that if they need a reference manager, we recommend 2 that are free.
I would like to say in the reference you put some example for the reference. You can put some book sample for the book reference or like the print book or the online book.
Oh, I see. So you think we should how to reference a book?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the video or podcast as well. Video, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we could do that on. I mean, I think the biggest thing too is we wanted to encourage people to use those like the Zotero and the Mendeley tools. And so we just wanted to provide a sampling, but we wanted for people to get very comfortable. I mean, if Mary Ellen and the team feels like they want to add every single thing, but I think we were trying not to make it too difficult for them and make it so that the author can go in and find that out.
Yeah, and especially because if they're asked to make edits, and they have to rearrange paragraphs or delete whole paragraphs. The idea is that they're not referencing by hand. The idea is that they're using a reference manager that's inserting the references for them. So as they modify and edit their paper and go through the publication process, they will not be relying on the few examples that we're showing, but instead be relying on these online managers.
Okay, thanks.
Any other suggestions, comments, thoughts? And please, if you know, if we forgot to add something to a template, give it a shout out right now so we can update.
Yes, thank you very much. I wanted to ask a few questions concerning the abstract types, particularly between the commentary aspect and the original research.
Anna, can you just repeat that? So you want to differentiate between original research and what else?
The commentary abstract.
Documentary abstract?
Commentary.
Commentary, okay.
Oh, did we
Commentary,
ask for an
sorry.
abstract with a commentary? I don't.
Yes,
Well, I
I
have a
think
printout
someone was
here.
submitting to HPHR last time, and the person was like, they are asking for an abstract even for.
Oh, you know, you are right. So usually we would not have that. To the best of my knowledge, you wouldn't have an abstract with a commentary or an op-ed.
It's only because Scholastica asked for it. I think that's where the confusion is. And so
I see.
in the past, what we've done is people just copy paste a couple of sentences just to fill that box.
I see.
Oh, I understand. Because to be honest, people have been complaining. That's why I wanted to clear my minds on that, because somebody was like, Andy, I'm submitting a commentary, but they're asking for an abstract. What should I put there? You know, and as an editor, I was quite struggling to answer the whole question. So I thought maybe HPHR really had abstract submission for commentary, but it's really not done anywhere. I thought maybe specifically for this journal. So I just asked the person to read a few guidelines on the page, but still, I don't think there was something concrete for her. So she just put up anything. So I wanted to clear my mind on the difference between the commentary for the abstract submission for commentary and original research. So I feel that since it's something that's not really shouldn't be part of a submission, we should try our possible best to scrap it off. What do you think?
I'm not sure I'm understanding you, except to say that like we can't change Scholastica. So authors are always going to be asked to like throw an abstract in that box. That's not a big deal. I think the templates are following what other journals have, you know, so if the commentary, like what their actual manuscript should look like. So even if, so hopefully this meeting can clarify that. So if they submit a commentary, but Scholastica says put in an abstract, they just, you know, literally copy paste a couple of sentences in that box. But their actual manuscript should follow our template because that's the actual thing that gets transferred onto our website for publication, not actually
Right.
in Scholastica.
What do you think about, what if we included in the template, you'll be asked for an abstract. We understand it's a commentary or op-ed. It's not going to be included in the publication. Should we encourage them to just do like a whole row of X's or something to have something in that box rather than get stressed out and try to figure out what they should be doing?
I personally think, that's why they can always reach out. That's why we have the editorial or the submission at hphr.org. And Andy, I wish you would have reached out to me or Cersei when you had that issue, because we could have solved it then too.
Yes. The major concern is, they really have, they are really not told to, the normal template, right? Nothing shows that a commentary should submit an abstract. when we are submitting on Scholastic. I think it's something that we should include somewhere, because the person, I think they don't see it anywhere, probably on the template of HPHR. Then for them to get to Scholastica, then Scholastica to ask it from them, it's more of like an impromptu something. They are not really aware. They just went on Scholastica to submit for HPHR, but Scholastica is asking for abstract submission. So there is this kind of, they don't really, at times some people get, confused. Some also get, they feel like it's too impromptu for them. They just go to Scholastica, then they'll be like, submit an abstract for the commentary. So I don't know if there is any way we could include that. Okay, during your submission process, Scholastica will be asking for comment, something to let them know that, yeah, they will be submitting a commentary, an abstract for their commentary.
I mean, I think we can. I think my biggest thing is like there are going to be things along the way that like we can have a very long document and we cannot necessarily predict every single thing. And to me, I think continually, writing to, or putting on our guidelines, if you have questions or something doesn't make sense, reach out to us. I think that's probably the best way to do it, as opposed to getting frustrated, because we literally respond back to people within the same day, if not within the few hours that people send us an email.
All right, that would be great.
I did just realize that the research letter does not have a request for an abstract. Anyway, we can talk about whether it should or shouldn't, because that's usually much shorter. Any other thoughts or questions? It's a lot of information. I'm sorry that we don't have the teams available for tonight, but we hope to have that in the next, I would say, week or two. And I look forward to working with all of you, and particularly with the members that are assigned to my team. So I would say, if there's no further questions, shall we adjourn?
Yeah, I think that sounds great. Fantastic job, Mary Ellen. Thank you again, also Cynthia as well. Wonderful. We're super happy to have a managing editing team put this all together. And yeah, like implementing this is going to make it so much better, for being able to publish things much more quickly and not have 50 to 100 articles that are backlogged and not published. Awesome. Great. Well, thank you, everyone. And I mean, I'll stick around if anybody has any other types of questions or anything else.
I'm going to say good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Any questions that people have or anything?
Not really. Thanks, Candice.
Okay. Have a great morning.